Welcome everybody again. Today we are going to learn about the 8th commandment. And like we do always, I'll begin by giving you a background of when, where, and by who these commandments were given. These commandments are from the book of the law that I'm showing on the screen right now. If you are interested in getting the copy, just email us. We'll send it to you. Our email address is down there. So the book of the law. First of all, these commandments were given by the voice of the Most High in Mount Sinai. Pay attention to the fact that the Most High was speaking to the people, so they heard his voice at Mount Sinai. And this was to Moses and to all of Isolele, or Israel. Though Moses and the elders of Isolele only went into the mount, and Moses alone received the tablets of the law, all Isolele heard the voice of the Most High when he gave the commandments. Secondly, the commandments were written on 2 tablets of stone. They were written by the finger of the Most High Tatanzambi. Moses broke these tablets, as we know, but after that he prepared a set of 2 others, on which Tatanzambi wrote the same words again. And then these tablets were placed in the Ark of the Covenant and kept within the tabernacle, which was in the temple. And this was until the Babylonian captivity. So that's the background. Think of yourself as one of those ancestors at Mount Sinai. Think of yourself as hearing the words of Tatanzambi with your own ears, and him addressing you as an individual, as well as you as the nation of Isolele. So let's jump right into the 8th commandment. This is the 8th commandment. Talks about stealing. Let's listen to the 8th commandment.
Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not trespass upon anything that is thy neighbor's, to take it from him, nor to destroy it. Neither shalt thou trespass upon the stranger that dwelleth within thy gates, to destroy his substance, nor to take it from him. For to thee he looketh for justice, and a shield round about all that he hath. And the fear of the Lord thy God is upon him also, and to his righteousness he also seeketh. Neither shalt thou overreach him by cunning, nor by stratagem, to take his substance from thy neighbor, nor the stranger within thy gates. Remember that ye were strangers, and were oppressed, and oppress not the stranger, lest his cry ascend to God against you.
Okay, so that is the 8th commandment according to the book of the law. All 124 words make up that 8th commandment. Let's get into it like we normally do. The 3 main parts of that commandment: you shall not, mandatory, steal. Then the expansion of it. So here, I want you to notice that Tatanzambi addresses you 12 times. He's addressing you 12 times in here. You shall not steal. You shall not trespass on your neighbor's property or take anything from him. You shall not trespass the stranger that is within your gates. For to you, the stranger looks up to you for justice or to shield him. You who is worshiping the Lord your God, neither shall you overreach. You should not take substance from your neighbor, that is, or the stranger within your gates. Remember that you were strangers when you were in Egypt, and you were oppressed. And if the cry of the stranger that you steal from reaches the Most High will hear that cry and act against you. So personalize this, because that's what the Most High did. He was addressing you or me individually and as a nation. And he repeated it 12 times. Clearly, it was important. The second part about this, shall not. We discussed the word shall, and it means it is mandatory. So it is mandatory that you do not steal. It is not a suggestion. It is not a motion for debate. It is not an idea. It is a judgment. It is a commandment that has been given. It's set in stone, literally. He wrote it on a stone, and it is not to be changed. So it's mandatory. 4 times that word shalt is used to imply that it is mandatory. This is a no-no. It's not up for discussion. Let's go to the word steal, which is the heart of this commandment. Okay? 12 times in here, stealing is described, be it from your neighbor in yellow or the stranger. Stealing is described as trespassing on anything that belongs to your neighbor or even to a stranger, and then taking what you've trespassed upon or destroying it. That is stealing. You trespass with the aim or the objective of taking something or destroying something that is not yours, that belongs to a neighbor or a stranger. Okay, so we see it repeated there. Take from him, destroy it. Then with a stranger, same thing, destroying it, taking it from him. Now, stealing is stealing, whether it is done by overreaching, cunning, devisefulness, or tactics, or strategizing to take something or substance from your neighbor. So as long as you're taking or destroying something, whether you're doing it by overreaching, by cunning, whatever way you're doing it, it is stealing. Okay, now let's take a deeper look at this 2 people who are addressed here, neighbors and strangers. What does the Most High want us to learn here? Notice that he talks about neighbors twice in fuchsia or blue color over there, but 13 times in yellow, he's talking about the stranger. This commandment is mostly talking about not stealing from your strangers around you or from the strangers around you. Clearly, 13 times versus 2 times your neighbor. And in fact, the second time when the neighbor is referenced here, it's in regard to the walking through your neighbor to steal from the stranger, or rather walking through the stranger to steal from the neighbor. So clearly you shouldn't be doing that. So the 8th commandment clearly emphasizes more about stealing from strangers than neighbors. Why is that? Well, remember that the Israelites were a nation of relatives from the 12 tribes. 12 tribes, the sons of Jacob. They were relatives, blood relatives. And they were going to have strangers or foreigners in their midst in the promised land. And they were going to have some of the strangers from Egypt who decided to live with them as they went to the promised land. So they're being told, stay away from what is not yours or your relatives. That belongs to the strangers. So we know it is human nature to tend to want to steal from strangers because they are less likely, the thieves are less likely to get caught or found out because they are not likely to interact, see, or engage with a stranger again. It's like if you went out of the country you live in right now and you went to a faraway land, you're going to meet people there that you might never meet again, especially if you're going to go back to your home. So Same thing when a stranger comes into your territory. You will interact with this person for a brief time, and thieves will tend to want to target strangers because the likelihood of the thieves getting caught by the stranger are very low. But the Most High was warning us against stealing, mostly from your strangers, but also from your neighbors. So stealing is stealing. Doesn't matter whether you steal from your neighbor or the strangers, but the Most High here was appealing to the nation of Isolele, do not steal from the stranger. Okay, if you steal from the stranger and his cry ascends to the Most High, you're dealing with the Most High. Do not do it. Okay, let's take a look at these two words here that were used. The first word in describing the stranger is where it talks about cunning. You know, the other one is stratagem. Okay, and actually, let me step back a little bit. Let's see what the Most High is saying about the stranger here. So notice that he says, you shall not steal, you shall not trespass upon anything that is your neighbor's. These are the do's and don'ts. To take it from him or to destroy it. That is about your neighbor. Just 3 lines about your neighbor. But then the rest of the lines, maybe about 10 or 12 of them, talk about the stranger. Neither shall you trespass upon the stranger that dwells within your boundaries, your gates, to destroy his substance. This is about the stranger, not to take it from him. For to you, the stranger looks for justice and a shield round about all that he has. The stranger looks up to you to protect him and for justice. And the fear of the Most High thy God, your Nzambi, is upon the stranger also. And to his righteousness, to the Most High's righteousness, the stranger also seeks. Okay? Neither shall you overreach the stranger by cunning or by strategy to take his substance from your neighbor. Okay? Nor the stranger within your gates. Again, we're still talking about the stranger. Then the final warning. Remember that you were strangers yourselves in Egypt. Remember, they're being told this 3 months after they've left Egypt, they're at Mount Sinai. It's only 3 months after they've left. And then they're reminded of these commandments when they're about to enter the promised land, which is 40 years after they left Egypt. And it says, and were oppressed, and oppress not the stranger. You are a stranger yourself. Do not oppress the strangers amongst you. If you do, this is what happens. Their cry, the cry of the stranger, will ascend to God against you. So let's look at this word cunning or stratagem. Okay, first of all, the word cunning. This is to be crafty in the use of special resources, such as a skill or a knowledge in attaining an end. But really, it's not just about using that skill or knowledge. It's doing it as a form of willingness or trickery. Okay, this is being malicious. You're devising a scheme to harm another person. Willingness and trickery. Okay, the second meaning, that is, the first one was the word cunning as an adjective. But as a noun, you're doing this in a subtle manner. You're being sly, okay? You're devising, executing, and inventing tricks or ways to maliciously con somebody, take something by false pretense, or whatever it is. You're not doing it out of goodwill. You're doing it meaning malice and with the intention of harming another. That is what cunning is being. So you're being told, don't go around coming up with plans and sly ways to steal from somebody or to destroy their property. That's the method of being cunning. What about stratagem? Okay, an artifice or a trick in war. for deceiving, lies, deceiving is lying, and outwitting the enemy. A cleverly contrived trick or scheme for gaining an end, a skill in ruses or trickery. Okay, look at the origins of this word. A stratagem is any clever scheme, sometimes ones that part of an overall strategy, carefully worked out plan of action. Okay, and this goes into the details of the origins of the word strategy and stratagem, but it's doing something out of dishonesty and malice with the intent of harming another. Do not do that. When we get into the discussion, we will get into discussion about historical instances where individuals and especially nations have strategized, applied stratagem, connived, tricked other nations to steal from them or to destroy their property. Exactly what the Most High was talking about here, okay? Even in the construction of what we call the Bible, they strategized to leave the book of the law out of the Bible. They stole, they took away from the scriptures. That is stratagem. That is being cunning. They stole, even in the compilation of the very book they call the Bible. Okay, let's take a look as we normally do to see or compare where this commandment appears in the current scriptures in the Bible versus in the book of the law. So here is Deuteronomy chapter 5. Between verse 1 and 21, you have the commandments. And in verse 19, you have those 4 words, neither shall you steal. That's all we have in there. So the book of the law has 124 words, and only those 4 first words appear in the Bible. The other 120 words in the book of the law were left out. Whether it was by cunning or stratagem, they took them out, which is what the commandment told them not to do. What about in the book of Exodus, where we have the rest of the commandments repeated? Between verse 1 and verse 17 of the 20th chapter, you have the commandments. In verse 15, they do the same thing. They only give us 4 words out of the 124 words. They take out, they destroy, they hide the rest of the 120 words from all the readers of the Bible. Whether it was deliberate or not, I do not know, but I can see and I do know that they are not giving us the whole 124 words that are in the book of the law. They've only given us 4. 4, not even 10, 4. Okay. So that's the 8th commandment. And to summarize, let's just listen to it one more time.
Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not trespass upon anything that is thy neighbor's, to take it from him, nor to destroy it. Neither shalt thou trespass upon the stranger that dwelleth within thy gates, to destroy his substance, nor to take it from him. For to thee he looketh for justice, and a shield round about all that he hath. And the fear of the Lord thy God is upon him also, and to his righteousness he also seeketh. Neither shalt thou overreach him by cunning, nor by stratagem, to take his substance from thy neighbor, nor the stranger within thy gates. Remember that ye were strangers, and were oppressed, and oppress not the stranger, lest his cry ascend to God against you.
If you found this presentation helpful, kindly help us get the word out by clicking the like, share, or subscribe button. Thank you.